Hello, all you cyberheads.
The House will be in order.
You know, I'm fond of the fair sex. I like to dibble and dabble in things, and a woman is just something I can't get away from. I just can't.
Women think the relationship is all about them. Everything is centered around what she wants.
Ladies, it's important for you to know that the higher your standard, the smaller your dating pool.
I think what men underestimate is that women are in their head a lot. They're constantly thinking, constantly processing. So if too much is on her plate, she becomes mentally exhausted.
Number one sign he's wasting your time. He tells you, let's go with the flow.
I should say, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Steve Gooseby. Welcome to R&B Talk on a Thursday where we talk about everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything from finances to the community, cryptocurrency, and relationships. Now, the last time we did this, and I'm going to introduce my guest to you shortly. The last time we did this, it was relationships from a man's perspective. And one of my guests who I'm going to introduce to you, I mean, we really got into it. But after each of those shows, we would get phone calls or emails in the DM, whatever. Man, listen, y'all got to give us an opportunity. And these are women saying, you got to give us an opportunity to respond because I like what you're doing, but come on, that's not fair. So I'm going to introduce to you a couple of guests, good friends of mine, very shortly. And Eric, I'm just trying to bring your camera up. So excuse me, y'all, while I'm a little slow here. And boom, I think we got you right here. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, folks. We're going to get it right. Give me 1 second here. 1 second. No, that's me. Hold on. But anyways, so we're going to talk about everything. As you know, relationships are very, very, very important. There you go, Eric. I got you right there. And let me bring you right up. Boom. Okay. All right. So relationships are very, very important because one of the things I discovered, right? Someone brought this to my attention. Wealth and relationships have a lot to do with one another. And we're last in a whole bunch of things. And in that area, when it comes to families, relationship, and wealth, we're at the bottom. So what I'm going to do right now, I want to play something for you. This is a guy, he's a doctor, and he goes by the name of Dr. George Frazier. Listen to what he has to say. I'm going to come back with some numbers, bring up my other guests, and we're going to get right into it.
71% of our sisters are not married. 29% will never get married. 63% of our brothers are not married. 30% of them will never get married. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has risen to maximize their full human potential without family at the center of their culture. This only exists. This is an interesting but negative statistic. This phenomenon of the existential crisis of our family only exists among African American black people. It does not exist on the continent or anywhere else in the diaspora. So there must be something in the water. We must fix this. It is a lot easier said than done because it is impacting our wealth.
Let me bring up to you right now, I want to introduce to you former radio show host from the Bomb Squad on the Urban Heat. He's a publisher and author of the book Scars That Healed. He's also a Massachusetts licensed real estate agent and a current Master's of Business Administration attendee at Curry College. Give it up for my guy, Eric Jones. What's happening, Eric?
Not much, man.
Good to have you back. Yeah, man. You ready to get into this?
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it, man.
Speaking Spanish here.
This is going to be good. This is going to be really good.
All right. So you heard what he said. 71% of black women aren't getting married. 29% will never get married. 63% of black men aren't getting married. And 30% will never get married. And the common thing with that, when you look at other races, they're getting married and by larger numbers, in the wealth gap between them and us, oh man, it's bad. Yeah. It's pretty bad. So let me just give you some of those numbers. The highest household median wealth in America, number one in that is East Indians. all right, at $104,000 a year with the marriage rate of 94%. So they're getting married. So you got 10 in the room, 9.5 of them are getting married. And the other guy's going to get married. He just hasn't made up his mind yet. He might get married the next year. Chinese are second, Chinese Asians, at $110,000 a year and a marriage rate of 70%.
Wow.
So, and then you got whites, $88,000 a year, the marriage rate of 50%. Hispanics come next. They're number 4, $61,000 a year, marriage rate of close to 70%. And then you got us, black folks, all right? $55,000 we average a year as far as income, and the marriage rate of 34%.
That's a very low number compared to the others.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. All right, so let's bring the guests on and let's talk and get deeper into that. Let me introduce to you folks a good friend of mine, an award-winning, nationally recognized TV and radio personality in multiple markets, 20 years of experience, a seasoned red carpet correspondent for BET, the NAACP, American Film Festival. She's also a publisher and author, a motivational speaker, a passionate advocate for nonprofits. Please welcome the lovely, the one and only, your radio love, Asia. Give it up for Asia, y'all. Make some noise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. We just getting started, y'all. Just getting started. Let me bring on this next young, beautiful queen here because we got a lot of them. She's very iconic, of course, former nationally syndicated morning radio personality, public speaker, content creator, kidney transplant survivor, health advocate, thought provoker, verbal instigator. She's a problem. She's a problem. And I'm sure she's going to be a problem this morning. Y'all give it up for my girl, Olivia Fox. Make some noise.
Hi, you guys.
Good morning, Olivia.
Yeah. Now, let me say this. If, you don't recall, remember the Russ Paul Morning Show?
Yes. Yep.
That's her, Olivia Fox. Also, they both have ties in Boston. They both did radio here at WILD in Boston. So let's give it up for them for their Boston ties. And let's get right on into it. You heard what the doctor said. You heard those numbers, which are very, very crazy. And, you would never think that relationships and wealth, have something in common. For us, it's not good.
Okay.
It's not good at all. So what are your thoughts in terms of how relationships are today and the wealth gap? What's the problem? What's the problem? Is it us or is it the men or is it the woman?
Are we talking about relationships as a whole? I mean, because a relationship doesn't necessarily have to lead to marriage. Right?
It does.
So I have been married. I have vowed to never get married again, but I'm a different person. You know what I mean? Some people may say that they love the sanctity of marriage. I'm built a little different. I may change my mind. We're women. We change our mind all the time. Right, Olivia? We change our mind like the wind. But like if you ask me like now, like right now, yeah, I'm not interested in that. But I feel like I do want a quote unquote relationship. But yes, money is definitely a factor. At this big age, you're not gonna look for the guy that's like has ambition. I need you to be already where you're gonna be. So yes, absolutely a factor.
It's funny you say that because I've been married before too, divorced 3 years out, and I said I'll never do it again. But now I say I'll never say never. And, I also look at the fact that, I'm a lot smarter now, a lot wiser, and I got married for the wrong reasons. I think most people do. But what are your thoughts, Olivia?
Thanks. First of all, I want to say thanks so much, Gooseby, for having me on. I think this is an important discussion. Those statistics that you just ran by are shocking. First time I've heard that, shocking, but I'm not surprised. I think a lot of times we look at what is in front of us in terms of relationships between Black men and Black women, but we don't get into what the problem is, like the real problem. And I think it really goes all the way back to slavery and the things that we were able to overcome as a people. I call it plantation psychosis. A lot of the issues that we have in 2025, I think, are directly linked to our history in this country, overcoming the things that we've had to overcome, white supremacy, racism, separation between light skinned and dark skinned people. And now I think what we're seeing is a war between Black men and Black women. I see it all the time online. Thought provokers, content creators, podcast hosts. We're always constantly hearing this story between this war between Black men and Black women. And I don't think that folks are really examining the true issues that have caused us to be where we are. And I honestly believe that a lot of this plantation psychosis is one reason why the breakdown of the Black family has occurred.
Wow.
I don't know if we are too far gone to be able to come back from it, just because there's so much misinformation out here and so much hatred within our own race amongst women and men. So, but I definitely think this is a conversation that needs to be had. And I think we need to have different aspects and opinions from people, not just the run of the mill, oh, well, she own money, and oh, well, she wants this. And then the women, I don't need no man, I'm independent. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm so tired of those scenarios. Like, can we get past that and try to get into the real issues and try to come up with some solutions instead of everybody mouthing off about how they feel? We're so into feelings and emotions that we can't get past to get to the main issue. So I think this is a great conversation that definitely needs to be had.
It's a problem because money is a problem. And, again, we are last in almost everything. E, what is your thoughts on this? Because you've been married before too.
Yes.
And we were talking about some things yesterday. I would love to hear your input on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I truly feel like, especially when it comes down to like marriages nowadays, it's really not like a fully locked in partnership. It's kind of like, the wife is doing her thing, the husband is doing his own thing. There's not that togetherness like we used to have like back in the days with our parents.
Right.
Because they were all about building, trying to buy property, loving on one another through thick and thin, and not, so quick to just throw the hands up and, bow out of the relationship. Because there's a lot of things that went on in relationships that were behind the scenes that they never talked about, because it was just none of our business. It's like, that was grown folks' business. You as a
What
child.
happens in the house stays in the house.
Yeah. So,
Right.
so you as a child, you stay out of that. Whereas nowadays, if a mother and father break up, the mom a lot of times is bashing the dad, and now all of a sudden those kids, they feel some sort of way about their father, or vice versa, or the father might be bashing the mother, and now the kids feel some sort of way about the mother.
It might be on social media.
Yeah, and then it's and then it goes to social media, and just like Olivia said just moments ago, these, a lot of times I see it more so from women.
Mm-hmm.
I see men do it sometimes, but more so from women. Always bashing guys, like, oh, there's no real men out here.
He ain't this.
I'm
ain't that.
I'm just giving up on the dating. I'm just giving up on the dating game. There's no real men out there. You know what I'm saying? There's real men that's out there. You're just looking in the wrong places. That's what the problem is.
I might actually agree with that.
Yeah. So it's like you're not gonna find your husband at the Carver Den or Packy's or any of those places. Okay.
Not Packy's.
Yeah.
I should love me some Packy's.
So I figured I'd throw that out there just to wake everybody up, because I know everybody hasn't had their coffee, so I want to wake folks up.
Yeah.
But I mean, to meet your partner, somebody that you can build with, it has to take place in the right space. That could be, I don't know, if you're going to college, or if you're attending church, or you're going to some really positive motivational events where you're meeting people that are like-minded, because it's crazy. Like, a lot of times, even when I see women or even men bashing women, or women bashing men, and I see it on social media, I don't even bother chiming in. I just swipe right past it, because we only do it to each other. You don't see any other race that does this. We're the only race that does it.
Right.
So
I've seen other people post. I've seen some, I think hurt people, right? I don't think it's necessarily like a race thing. I've seen some crazy posts on social media by other people. But I wanted to just piggyback real quick, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference between the days of yesterday and the days of today is a lot of that stuff we're just not going to tolerate. Like, I knew a girl who couldn't go 2 streets over, and the reason why she couldn't go 2 streets over is because that was her brother and sister house. So her mom was like, y'all stay on this street because you can't go play with your brother and sister. We don't deal with that stuff anymore. Now we're very open. We got the Neos of the world and the people that are like, hey, we want multiple partners, and we're open about this now a lot more frequently than we were back then. But when you do have the mindset of I want a loyal partner, we're not going to tolerate 3 kids outside of the relationship and things like that. So I think that's where the difference lies from like yesteryears, like the days of our grandmothers and our mothers who kind of tolerated a whole lot of BS that we're just like, nah, we're not built like that.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was alluding to when I was talking about like, a lot of things that took place in the house you really didn't know anything about, because, I didn't find out a lot of things that was going on within my home until
grown.
Probably until I was like 21, 22.
Right.
Because it got to a point where, I was going to North Carolina for years, me and my sister, God rest her soul. And we were traveling down like every single year, Eastern Airlines back in the days, flying to North Carolina. I didn't find out that my grandfather was even alive until I was like 24, 25 years old.
Wow.
And he lived in North Carolina. My mother never talked about him. None of that. So I'm thinking this whole time that he passed away.
Right.
And, when I finally got the chance to meet him, I'm his oldest grandson. He didn't even know who I was.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we all want to be in relationships, good relationships, but in 2025, it's just a hard thing to even fathom that man, where am I going to find a good, in your case, a good man, and in our case, a good woman?
Good woman, yeah.
And so let's talk about some of those issues, because 2025 is different. Social media has taken over, and in some cases, people learn things from social media and they bring it into the relationship. So what are some of those problems? From a guy's standard, from a guy's stance, standards seems to be a big problem. At least I feel at times.
Elaborate. What do you mean standard?
I think women. I think someone. Huh?
You don't want the butt poking out on the post. You don't want like.
Listen, I'm not even. To be honest, I like a nice butt, but I'm not into the face. I'm really not. I'm not. That don't do anything for me.
Right.
I'm telling you, and I can tell a natural one from one that was made up. So
you don't like the BBL?
No, I don't like them at all. No, I don't do anything for anybody that knows me. No, I don't care for them.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think sometimes women's standards can be way too high and unrealistic, and like you need to tone it down. What are you talking about? That's not life to me. In some cases where I'm looking for a very specific guy instead of just looking for a person who is a naturally good person in every way. But he doesn't make this amount of money, or he's a garbage man. You know what I mean? Garbage men make good money.
Right.
A lot of them make well over 6 figures, but they got a problem because he's a garbage man. But he's the best dude in the world. He got 4 or 5 different investment properties and stocks, and she don't want to deal with him, and she don't know.
Yeah, he has to come home smelling like trash at night. That's a problem. Let's be real. We got to wash those clothes. Like nobody wants that. But from a realistic standpoint, though, I think when we're younger, we have these long, elaborate lists. And when we get older, we're like, do you have all your teeth in a heartbeat? Our list goes down and down and down over the years. It really does. And I've been one of those people that settled, and I just refuse to settle anymore. That's from my perspective. So I'm like, God is he's a funny guy, right? So if you don't ask specifically for what you want, he'll send you a small man with no money, but he's a great guy because you weren't specific. So you have to have those.
You got to be specific with God.
You have to really write down what you really, really, really want, and try to manifest that. And I think everybody out there has a person right? You have your person, because he may not be perfect, but he's perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we move too fast and we miss them.
What do you think, Olivia?
Well, I think a lot of the issues that people are having trying to find that perfect person can be linked back to their childhood. Let me elaborate. If you have a woman that has never had a father in her life, or had a traumatic situation with their father, or the father was absent, or he was an abuser, whatever the case is, you carry that with you. A lot of, we talk about therapy and things of this nature, but some things you just carry with you. So when you go as an adult, you're going to have those issues kind of on your back. The same can be said about men. A lot of Black men out here have Black mama issues. And because of their Black mama issues, they carry that with them when they go. Tell me that if you have a mother, say a single mother as a young man, and a lot of times, not all the times, but a lot of times, some Black men have issues with Black women because they carry the trauma of thinking that their Black mama, who was the head of the household, had to carry the load because for whatever reason the father wasn't there, whatever the issue. And you as a young man, maybe you found your mom to be too strong or too aggressive or too opinionated, or someone who whooped your behind.
we get it.
Whooped your behind. So you're carrying that with you. So of course, you can have and I don't like to quote R. Kelly, but one woman can make one man hate all women. In other words, one Black woman mother could make one Black man hate all Black women because maybe they're going into dating with that idea of, well, this woman carries too many traits like my mom. I don't want to be with her because she makes me feel this, or she brings up these kind of memories that I have dealing with my mom. So I definitely don't want any woman that has any kind of characteristics of my mother. So you've got those issues as well. So I think it really impacts people. I think that's why you see so many women. I want a man who's got money. I want a man who's taking care of me. I want a man who's, successful, because maybe they didn't have that when they were a child. So they're dealing with that trauma of, I don't want to struggle like my mom did, or I don't want to be, angry or, resentful like my mom is because my father wasn't there for whatever reason. So I think, folks have to look within themselves before you go to looking out to find a mate or somebody to be with, or somebody who's going to provide these things for you in a relationship. You really have to understand what you are dealing with within yourself. If you're having trauma, if you're having scars from your childhood, you're going to carry those into, relationships, and the same thing will continue to happen. And I speak on this because I've been through this, having been married and divorced. I always felt like, why am I ending up with the same type of man? And I had to really look within and admit to myself that it was me. It's me with the issues. And a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for their own stuff.
Right.
So you know what? Here's a good question for all of us, because I think we've all been married. Asia, you've been married, right?
And divorced. Divorced, yes.
Okay, so we've all been married and divorced.
Oh yeah.
So what were some of, you just said some of your issues, Olivia, that you experienced. What are some of the things, that being married and divorced now, you look back and what the issues were on both sides. You want to share some of that?
Yeah. So, I could speak, in regards to, my marriage, she wasn't the mother of my kids. But she has two sons of her own who are older. Right. And she's always she always coddled them. You know what I'm saying? So she really didn't hold them responsible to do anything. And they were just so used to being who they were. You know what I'm saying? They really weren't stand-up men of the house, because I always watched them and how they did things, even when we were dating, I would go by the house, I would see the mother outside mowing the lawn, or in the wintertime shoveling snow, or in the fall.
Wait, what?
Yeah. While
So wait, they were older kids?
yeah,
Or
older
like
kids. Yeah, older
20s?
kids in their 20s. Yep.
Oh, no,
So
they're not kids.
I'm looking at all of that, right? And I'm like, now that I'm divorced from it, I took a deeper look into the relationship itself, right? Because as far as her and I, we didn't have any problems at all. But I'm a protector, so it's like even when it comes down to your kids, if they try to disrespect you or whatever, I'm gonna be that person that's gonna step in. But here were two of the problems, the biggest problems. She didn't have a great relationship with her dad, right? So she was always like even though she didn't come off as the masculine type, it was kind of like she was basically like the man of the house. We didn't get into like arguments or anything because she tried to control me or anything like that. But she's been so used to being so independent, right? Then her two sons, they don't have a relationship with their dad, right? So here I am, a man that's coming in. I have 3 children of my own, always provided for them, always protected them, and this and that. And I have like those old school standards of like, if you're grown and you live in a house, you're going to help out. You're going to pay rent. You're going to, any chores around the house, you're going to help out with all of that. So I was basically in a situation where I was trying to fight a battle that I was never ever going to win. Because anything that I do or say comes off as being aggressive because they're not used to that. Her kids aren't used to that, right? And then when I have conversations with the mom, it's like, these guys are grown. Why don't they clean up their room? Like, why don't they help to contribute? Why don't they do this and do that? And she got so tired of me saying it. Like, she would like make up things and she would come to me and be like, oh, both of the boys, they paid me rent this week and this and that. When I know that they didn't pay anything.
Right.
She would just make up stuff just so I would keep my mouth shut. So it was like, you know what? I really had to take a look at that relationship. And I'm like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
At the time I loved her. I was in love with her. Like I was planning out a whole future to start a cleaning business, move to Georgia, transfer my real estate license, and go down there and do some big things. But I'm like, we're just not on the same page.
Right.
So I had to step away from that because I'm in my mid 50s. I'm not going to continue to, before I know it, it's going to be time to retire. And I'm not going to be trying to stay in a fight that I'm just never ever going to win.
Yeah. And so that was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'll keep mine short, but, and there were a few things, but the biggest thing, we were going in different directions. She was more of the 9 to 5 and no, do that, get your pension and da. Me, I'm more of no, let's
risk it all.
I'm the independent guy. I'm the investor. Let's start a business. Let's do this. And I wanted to get into real estate way before I got into real estate. And so we really, overall, we just were not on the same page. And independently, I'm always 100 miles ahead. The crypto thing that I'm into now, I've been into that since 2015.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So yeah, I'm a little different. I don't think I'm the average personally, but that had a lot to do with it because we just were not on the same page, different beliefs. And earlier when I spoke, people get married for the wrong reasons. I think I got married simply because I was in love, and that was
That's
it.
The wrong reason.
Definitely the wrong reason. I want to have it, and I want to talk about that because I think a lot of people get married for the wrong reasons, and that reason is they're in love. That's it. Yeah. Oh, we're in love. Let's go get a house. Let's do this, do that. No, you can't do that. And so for me, that's one of the things I've learned. If you're going to get married, especially in 2025, it can't not be just for love. It's not gonna. If it is, it's not gonna work.
Right.
Well,
I married my husband's representative, so I was in love with the guy he was pretending to be. When I realized who he was, I ain't like him, so wow. Not gonna work. And if I'm being 1,000%, my grandmother was like 90 years old when I got married, and I just kept saying, I want my grandmother to be at my wedding. So subconsciously, I know that I got married so that my grandmother would be at my wedding, and she literally died 364 days after I got married. I could have got divorced that day. I know that sounds so crazy, but yeah. The comedian Kevin Anthony said something one time that just still makes me laugh to this day. He said, marriage is a beautiful institution, but who the hell want to be in an institution?
That's a good one. That's a good one. So let's talk about some of the other issues, because you mentioned slightly earlier, E, masculinity.
Yeah.
So, you know, in my opinion, females have this thing now too that, you know, where that's really, really a big deal, and we all get it, right? You want a masculine guy. And personally, I think it's just a new word for I want a thug, because back in the day, I want me a thug. Now you want a masculine guy. And, you know, all the other things, you're just ignoring it. You just want a thug. You want a masculine guy. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about that? Are we right when we say women just want the tough guy all the time and miss out on the nice guy?
I think we do want a roughneck. I mean, we do. So as an alpha female, I tend to lead, right? I want a man that is going to make me follow. Now, I don't want anybody aggressive, violent, you know. I just want someone that is assertive enough. It just kind of symbolic of my father, because I don't have any daddy issues. A lot of women do. That we low-key want that man that's going to be like, I got this. And you just know, all right, you got it. And we don't have to second guess that it's really going to be handled. We often we've heard it in our lives, but they don't really have any follow through. So we take the initiative to make sure that it gets done, because that's the only way we know it's going to happen for real. We've never had that solid, sound alpha male, that leader, if you will. So I've been told many times that I am emasculating, which I don't see, but I'm pretty sure because of the amount of times I've heard it, it might be just a little bit true. And I don't feel like I look for necessarily a bad boy, but we want someone.
You want an aggressive guy.
We want somebody that's going to do what, like, not even have to say it. Just do what you do and just be like, dang, it's the
So to me, that's not really masculinity. To me, that's just you just want a person who's gonna get it done, who's gonna, you know, who knows how to put his foot down.
Right. That's
you know, but somehow people describe that as a roughneck. Roughnecks don't get it done all the time.
No,
roughnecks out there beating people up and you know, doing their thing. So
no, I mean, I need to be able to take you. If I have a dinner at the White House, you have to be able to put on a suit and go to the White House. But if I need to go to the projects and host a cookout, you need to be able to put on some shorts and go hang at the cookout. I need you to be able to morph the way I can morph, and I could be in any room at any time and always feel like I'm a part of that situation. You need somebody like that, but at the same time, it's like you low key as a woman, and I may be speaking out of term, Olivia, you can tell me if I'm wrong. We want that man that if he says sit down, we sit down.
Sit down.
It's not a question. It's
why you
sit down and you
sit
down. It's like, okay. It's that's what we want in our minds. And very, very few men have done that for me. Prepositional phrase. I can't speak for Liv. Liv, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm into traditional roles. I'm from the Midwest. My parents were married for 50 years until death did they part. And I believe in traditional roles. I don't have a problem because I can burn, I can cook. Right. I don't have a problem cooking for my man. Okay. I don't have a problem making my man's plate. Right. I don't have a problem with washing clothes, housekeeping. But as I am into my traditional roles, I'm looking for a gentleman who can fulfill the traditional role of a male that I'm accustomed to. Absolutely. My father cut the grass. My father made sure the car was running and the tires, were good. My father worked. My mother worked, but my dad was the head of the household. Now, my mom would put her foot down and, say what she needed to be said, but my father was the head of the household. I believe in that.
Yes.
Again, it goes back, I think, to what you are raised and how you are accustomed to seeing gender roles.
Right.
I don't think it's a thug thing. I don't think it's, that, because there's a difference between a masculine man and a thug, in my opinion. I just think it's if you're into traditional roles. Now, we've gotten so far away, it's almost like a bad thing when people now in 2025, when you talk about traditional roles, because, you can't define me and I am, she, he, and I don't have nothing against nobody's sexuality. My oldest brother's gay. Let's not get it twisted. But we've gotten so far away from traditional roles. And some people may say, oh, you old fashioned. I'll be that. But that's what I prefer. I prefer a man who is going to lead the household. I prefer a man who is going to take the initiative. Now, I'm not saying, sit down and you do this. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay. So, let's be clear, when you say you want a man to take control or be the head of the household, I think we need to differentiate between chauvinism, male chauvinism, and being masculine. And I think a lot of times people don't really know what they think about gender and the role that you play, because again, people are so pressed and thirsty to find somebody that they're not even together themselves. So they're going in broken, carrying bags, haven't resolved their last issues and the issues before. A lot of people jump into relationships right after they get out of a relationship. You haven't even had time to heal or to acknowledge your role in the demise of your last relationship. And yet you jumping into something else and you're not right. Your head is bad. As they would say, your head is bad, your heart is broken. You got to heal before you move forward.
For a lot of people, though.
That's true. But then you end up making the same mistakes and repeating the same behavior, and then wonder why you can't find somebody because you refuse to acknowledge what you have done.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think within ourselves, we all know what our problem is. Especially if you're in a relationship, if it's you, if it's them. A lot of people just can't look in the mirror, and face the truth. Let's talk about supporting your significant other, because that's one of the complaints when it comes to men too.
Wait, are you asking about emotional support or financial support? Because there's a difference.
It could be both. Right now I'm talking about emotional, but it could be both. For example, I'll use myself as an example. I want to go and I want to go buy this let's go get this 6 unit building here. It's only $125,000. We got to put down 5%. Let's hustle up the money. Let's do it. Market rent here for a 3-bedroom, $2,800 to $3,200, depending on the area. This is a moneymaker.
$125,000, that's a no-brainer. And you should not have to muster 5% of that.
Right.
That's a no-brainer.
Right. But someone who may not understand that's a lot of money. That's a high risk. Nah, I don't want to do it. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, the guy wants to do certain things and he needs the support of his significant other to get it done. And if he doesn't get that support, it kind of throws a monkey wrench into it. Or maybe he can't do it without her, and it may not just be emotional support. Maybe she has to also be involved for the deal to get done, or to come up with the entire 5% or whatever the percent is.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how do we get past that? Because that's one of the biggest complaints I hear about too when it comes to men or women and their significant other, because the roles can reverse as well.
You just have to you got to find a like-minded individual. You got to do your A likes. When you try to go outside the box and put a square in a circle, it's just not going to work. So, I do a lot of events. I'm around a lot of people. I met this guy one time. I thought he was super, super nice. No red flags for the first couple of dates. I told him to come to one of my events. While I'm at my event, I see people. I'm hugging people. I'm taking pictures. And as soon as we're done, he was like, you were hugging on a lot of people. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, but you were hugging on a lot of people. I'm like, okay, I do every day. I do
Right.
every day while this is who I am.
This is
I
the
love
business.
on people.
Yeah. So you
I
interact
pour
with
on
folks.
people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
If that was my red flag, I was done after that. So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you can't handle me at an event, then you can't handle this at all, because this is nothing. You know, you have all the industry stuff and all the behind the scenes and the travel. Yeah, so you have to know, you got to see the signs, and if they can't understand what you do or your passion behind what it is that you do, you got to just run, not walk, run.
Right.
Mhm.
So in other words, you can't jump into the relationship.
Yeah.
You know, you have to communicate
Mhm.
and, you know, put those signs. You look for the signs. Ask the right questions.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't. You're right. You can't put a circle in a square.
Nope. And sometimes with the red flags, I mean, luckily enough, you were able to pick up on that quickly, because
Right.
sometimes, you know, we get in relationships and we see little red flags, but we have so much faith in the person that we're with because we love them so much. Oh, no, you know, I saw that, but she's a really good person, or he's a really good person. Let's continue to keep on moving right along to see if things can get better. And then it just gets worse from one phase right to the next. And then it blows up. Then all of a sudden you guys break up. And then you think back like, well, after that first red flag, I should have got out of here and ran. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we always have so much faith in our partner to think that they're going to turn things around and create a better situation for both of us. But, you know, a lot of times it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. And nowadays, with the way technology is changing the world, you can't be playing around no more. You need to, like, whoever you trying to get with, whoever you want to, like, you know, do it right. You know,
Yeah.
what do you think, Olivia?
Well, Asia made a point earlier talking about the representative. And that can be tricky, because you can be with someone who has this facade of who they are and what they do and, you know, how they move. And then down the line, for me, after marriage, that representative left. And I'm like, who the hell are you? And why are you here? And where's the man that I thought I was with?
Right.
Where he got? You know what I'm saying? And then you find yourself, like many women have to, we end up dimming our light to accommodate a man's ego. You know, you make a good living, you're high profile, like you said, Asia, you're traveling, you know, you're seeing people are seeing you, folks know who you are. But you end up having to dim your light to accommodate this ego or this insecurity or this lack of. And nobody wants to do that. You may do it for a while, but after a while, you're like, yo, I've worked my butt off to get to where I'm at. I'm not gonna be up in here acting like I'm not who I am when I know I'm great. When I know, you know what I'm saying? When I know who I am, when I look in the mirror and I know that I'm a pro. You know, I'm not gonna be acting like I'm not who I am just so you can feel better about yourself. And so that happens a lot of times, and it happens with women as well. They misrepresent themselves. Oh, I do this and and they all on, you know, and that book. Sorry, that BS. And I do this and I and then you find out, you know, her credit score is a 525. And you know, everything that she says she was is just a little nab of truth. And all the rest of that stuff is BS. So it happens on both sides. People misrepresent themselves. And you just really have to have some serious conversations in terms of money, how you feel like you're going to spend your money. What do you think is important to you in terms of your joy? What is your purpose? What is your family life like? What your past relationship was like. That tells a lot. A lot of times, oh, well, you know, we broke up. It just didn't work out. Well, it turns out that you crazy and you were stalking.
Listen,
you got restraining orders. You know what I'm saying?
I wish I could talk about some of my situations, man, but I'm not going to put myself out there like that. But you're right. People are crazy. And I'll just tell a little bit of it, right? I found myself in a position one time. It was, you know, I can't believe I did what I did. You know, and I can't believe, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But
well, let me know what you talking about.
It was a situation that I had never been in before in my entire life. And this particular person, you know, your instincts, you know. Oh my man, let's stop right there. Let's just stop right there. The bottom
Wait a
line
minute,
is,
what is happening?
I know what you're talking about, Steve. Come on now.
These ladies want the rest of that story now.
My God.
You dangled a piece of candy in front of them.
Yes, we gotta hear what happened. What happened?
Listen, okay, I'll tell the story without saying the name, right?
Right.
But
Absolutely.
the person, first of all, the person during that time, she's better now, but during that time, not everybody can hold their liquor. Uh-oh, did we lose Asia?
No, I'm here.
Okay, gotcha. Not everybody can hold their liquor. So this person was the type, and I noticed it at the more we went out, and the more she had a sip, you know, she couldn't hold her liquor, but she got aggressive. When she started drinking, she gets aggressive, a little bit of paranoia, and who's that lady on your phone? Boom, 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 boom. Huh? And it got to the point where something I never do, like I found myself in an argument out at a restaurant. Yo, you know, and the story goes deeper than that, but I'll stop right there. I'll stop right there. So you're right. You know, people present themselves one way. You get deep into the relationship and you find out, well, damn, I didn't know all that. So this is your other side, you know? Right. Yeah. So that's just one of my stories. And I'm sure we all got stories where, you know, we don't really want to talk about them. It's an experience that we had back then and we leave that in the past. But let me ask you this. How many people, just to switch it up a little bit, how many people are in relationships that are really in situationships?
Everybody. I don't know. I'm speaking for myself. I'm not in a relationship right now. I am openly dating, which means I got a lot of takeout boxes in my refrigerator right now. But I want a relationship. I'm just not going to like I said, I'm not going to settle and take anything. I know a lot of people have a lot of girlfriends, if you will. And I believe that most of them are in situationships. A few of them have some serious long-term committed to, you know, great relationships, but that's a handful. Like if I look at my core group of, let's say 10 women, I'd say 2 out of 10. And the rest of them, if they're involved, it's a situationship. You know, we often are dating ourselves and we just don't know it. It's like, he's my boyfriend, but we ain't his girlfriend.
That's funny.
So that happens more than you think. It was hilarious because, you know, I do this segment called Ask Asia, and this girl wrote this letter, and she said, I've been seeing this guy for 6 months, and he asked me, he said, you're so great. Why don't you have a man? She was like, wait, what? I thought you were my man. We've been together for 6 months. Can you imagine dating somebody and spending like most of your time with this person and you're thinking that you're going to the next level and he doesn't even recognize you as even your girlfriend, let alone she's thinking that it's going to a whole nother serious situation. And that happens more than we think.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a communication thing too, because, you know, depending upon how they started off their relationship, it might not have even been like, you know, we're going to do this for a month or 2 months and then we'll, you know, take it to the next level and start dating. So
who says that? Who does that?
Well,
I mean, nobody does that in relationships.
Well,
you do?
I mean, that's the old school way of doing it because, yeah, I mean, I just feel like my thing is like if I'm with a woman, and if it starts out as like a situationship, we just kind of like, you know, going out to the movies, going out to eat, or whatever the case might be. You know, if I'm really into her, at some point, I'm gonna kind of be like, okay, you know, where's this thing going? Or she might say the same thing, because at the end of the day, especially at this age, we want to have, you know, someone that's going to be solid with us and locked in as a partner, because we're looking to build and support one another, you know, whether that be financially or emotionally. So, you know, just carrying on for that amount of time. I mean, obviously there wasn't a conversation that took place, and there really wasn't any communication as a, you know, the direction as to where things were going, because like you said, she was thinking that that was her man, and he's just like, how come you don't have a man? So there's a gap.
Wow.
There's
Right.
yeah,
It's not heartbreaking.
yeah, that's
It's
I mean,
like,
there's a gap there somewhere, because obviously if she felt as though that was her man, she must have done something for him or to him for him to think, I mean, for her to think that that was her man. But that just went right over his head, because like I said, asking the question
for
of,
6 months.
yeah, I mean,
That went over your head for 6. We're going on dates. We're spending time together.
yeah, I mean,
nights together.
yeah, I mean, that's,
For
I mean,
6
that's,
months that went over your head. That's a long.
I
Maybe
know,
2,
but
3,
that
but
says,
6 months.
but that says a lot about him as a man, because it's like, again, she's thinking one thing, he's thinking something else,
and that's where
you know?
communications comes in again.
Yeah.
When you get in a relationship, lay down the foundation, whatever it's gonna be.
Yep.
You know.
Okay, but let's be. How many of us do that?
None
when
of
we
us.
see somebody,
No
and
one
we
does
like somebody, we're gonna say, okay, we got 30 days to figure this out, and if we still together in 30 days, then we go together. Like, how many of us really realistically have?
We got to change that mindset though, especially now with where we're headed with AI and everything. The jobs are going away.
Okay.
Right? 300 million jobs in the next few years gone because of
Well,
AI alone.
Under this administration, that's a whole nother conversation. But yes,
Right. It's a whole nother conversation, but it relates to, like the doctor said earlier, wealth with families.
Okay.
And relationships is a big part of that. So we definitely got to change the mindset. So if you getting with somebody, you know, unless you don't care about your future, you know, if you getting with somebody, you definitely got to lay down. All right, what are we doing here? You know, what are your parameters or boundaries is what they say. You know, how are we going to do this? You know, are you my man? Are you my woman? Are we? What are we doing?
It sounds good, but I don't see us doing
No one
that. I don't see even the window in the time for us to say, hey, let's map out. It's almost like having a dating contract. When we
So why can't we do it?
Do that? I don't
Why can't we do
Why
it?
haven't y'all done it? Why haven't you done it?
Oh, listen, I'm doing it now.
So
I'm doing it now.
So after the show's over, right? We're gonna put together some dating contracts. We're gonna print some stuff out.
Call everybody.
The contracts are in place after today.
And maybe that needs what needs to happen. Dating contracts.
Yeah.
You know,
I think if people were more honest up front, I always tell folks, because I'm a back in the cut kind of person. Even though working in media, you're required to be out there, but in my personal life and everyday life, I'm a really back in the cut, kind of look around and listen. If you listen to someone run their mouth, they will tell you everything that you want to know. So I think folks need to enter situations, as you said, with that mindset of just listening, because folks will tell you pretty much everything you need to know about them if you put it in their court. Most folks love to talk about themselves. And so I think it just comes from having worked in media for 40 years and interviewing people and understanding how to get information out of folks, how to put people at ease when you're interviewing someone. If you're ever in a situation where you have to interview a celebrity and you could tell right off the jump, it's going to be a difficult interview because for whatever reason, this person is not, offering the information that you're trying to relay to your listeners, then you have to be able to pivot and put them at ease. And they don't even know that they are being verbally manipulated, to put them at ease and then come around the other way to get the information that you want. It's always a way. It's always a way to get the info if you are receptive and want to hear it. The problem is a lot of folks don't want to know They want to live in this dream of, I'm going to meet someone and he's going to rescue me and we're going to live happily ever after. But you can't get to Z without starting at A and figuring out all the information and things that you need to make an educated assessment of who you're with. And so you have to go through the steps, that dating step, that is so important, because again, if you don't know what you're dealing with, anything could happen. And I mean literally anything. I'm giving my testimony. Anything can happen if you don't listen to what someone is telling you, because you want a different kind of outcome. So you really have to, it's hard, especially if you're not skilled in the task of gathering information from someone, but it can be done. You first have to just be quiet and listen. And I, it's a stereotype, but a lot of women run their mouth too much. You have to sit back in the cut and gather information and shut up. Then you can find out what's going on.
That's when you play. Here's where you play Beyonce's song. Listen, right here. This way.
Right.
This has nothing to do with the relationships, but what she said brought up a memory. For those of you who don't know, when I was in the Boston market, Steve Gooseby was my boss. He was my program director, and Steve gave me an interview with Nas, and Nas was like, it was like talking to watching the paint dry on your walls. It was like
right.
It was like creepy.
Yeah.
And so when you said it, I thought about that. It was
That's
like
how he came off.
the worst interview of my life. So,
hard.
Oh God,
it's hard.
And now he can't shut up.
Now, right. I interviewed him 100 times since then. Now he's talking to her, but that was funny. Yeah, you're right. It's hard to pull from people sometimes, and that does cause some friction in the beginning. But you gotta make them relax, and it all just
tell them what they want to hear.
I can
always stroke the ego. You are the greatest. You are the best.
Right. Now, speaking of that, I think that's a big part that's missing in relationships too, because women want to be pampered, but guess what? We want to be pampered too. I want to get my back rubbed sometimes, my feet and my neck and all those things. You know what I'm saying? And
it depends on what your feet look like, though.
My feet are good.
Okay.
My feet are good. I get the manis in the I'm overdue for one, so it ain't perfect, but they good.
I think that comes with maturity as well. And again, where are you looking to find this mate? If you want somebody who is mature enough to understand that the needs that you have, the man would have them as well, then you're not going to give that to him. You have to be mature enough to understand that, whether he's a man or not, everybody is a human being. Everybody wants to be wanted. People like to be touched. People like to make them feel good. You know what I'm saying? It's not just females. I mean, there are men out there that need that as well. And I don't know if some of these younger women understand that, you gotta give to get. And that's just not a sexual thing, but it's also attention. It's support. It's understanding. It's an open ear. It could be something as simple as rubbing them on the back when they come in. A lot of times I hear, men talk about their women when they come home and they just, blah, 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 this is what happened, this is what happened. And it's just venting, where the man is supposed to be there to listen. But you need to come in sometime and say, you know what? How are you doing? How was your day? How are you feeling? What happened to you? And what can I do for you? You know what I'm saying?
And let me take care of you.
Let me make you some biscuits, baby.
Go relax. I got this. Don't worry about nothing.
This. And again, it comes back to that gender.
The deal fell through.
You gotta take care, of your household. You always hear, men like, take care of home, but women, you gotta take care of your home too. And that means, doing what you need to do to make sure that your man knows that you got his back in more ways than just one.
I think it stems from everybody's love languages. You know, I know my love language. I like gifts. You know, I love gifts and I like small gestures. Like they go a long way for me. But your love language, Steve, may be that you want to be pampered and you want the attention. Like I think different people want different things. There's different things that you like, almost deal breakers in your relationship, if you will. If you can't do this for me because I need this on a regular basis, then this is not going to work. So everybody's love language is different, but I don't think we take the time to actually try to find out our partner's love languages anymore. You know, you spoke on younger people. I'm not even going to try to understand younger people. This is a 40 plus, 50 plus group right here. And somebody that's 20 years old, I can't, what they do versus what we do, what we did.
I mean, they don't even those younger folks. They don't even call each other by name.
They're in trouble.
They like I see like a boyfriend girlfriend out. They're like, "Yo, bro, come here, bro."
Right,
like,
right.
I don't see no dude over here. That's a girl.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we didn't do that.
Yeah. And the women say that too.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
what up, bro?
Yeah.
What up?
Bruh.
I wish somebody would talk to me. Yo, bro.
Yeah.
Huh?
Like what?
Yeah.
Yo, I'm out of here.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna attempt to understand the 20 and I'm gonna say under 35 because that's just a different world for me.
Yeah.
But no.
And
you know, that leads me to another
that's
question.
our future.
That leads me to another question. Would any of you all be open to dating significantly younger partners?
Oh, no doubt. I have.
You have? How young?
Let me see. It depends.
Carry the one.
It depends because let's say she's 28, 25, but she looks 35. You know what I mean? Or
that's not good.
No, I'm just saying it depends.
Oh God.
Well,
Agent and dog years. What's up?
It depends.
Right,
I'm just throwing out an example. I mean, I'll definitely date younger, but the thing about dating younger too, if you're dating someone, and I'm only saying this because it's legal. If you're dating someone in their 20s, well, guess what? They're not mature.
Right.
They're not mature. So you got to deal with that too. You know what I'm saying? And that's not something I would be up to. So I'm definitely going to push it up 30s.
Okay.
Definitely in the 30s. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I don't have a problem with 40s too. I've dated in 30s and 40s.
I mean, 40s, I see.
Yeah.
30s and late 20s, I don't know. Eve, what about you?
30s can be a problem too because the maturity level.
Yeah.
I remember, I would say probably about maybe close to 4 years ago.
Right.
This young lady, you know, she came at me. I mean, she was like drop dead gorgeous, but she was like, I think she was like 32 at the time, and I was just getting ready to turn 50. And I'm looking at the situation like, okay, I have 3 kids. My kids this year will be 35, 22, and 30. I'm like, I can't bring this girl home because she can't be my kid's stepmom. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
So that's how I look at it. I think
your daughter would be like, I went to school with her.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, you know, Dad, that girl was in social studies with me. I'm like, okay. Then I start feeling like, oh, Kelly, like they about to make a Netflix series on me or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like for me, being 53, I think the youngest I would go would probably be early mid 40s.
Okay.
And you know, I've always been open to dating women older than me. I never ever had a problem with that. It seemed like I've always attracted them. I don't know if it's because of my mindset, my vision on life or whatever, but I don't really get a lot of young women who come at me. I think sometimes I think they look at you and how you move also. I think if I was somebody who was always draped in jewelry and was real flashy or whatever, I might attract them. But I don't mind throwing on a suit, putting on a tie, bow tie, dress shoes or whatever. So I don't appeal to them because I'm not that, you know, ratchet type, I guess. But
What's the oldest though you dated? You said older women. What's the oldest?
the oldest I've dated,
Well, Steve, I see your face. I need to know yours too.
58 oldest.
58 at what age though? 58 now? That's only 5 years. 58 at 35. Woo. What you talking about?
No,
Well, how old were you when you dated the 58-year-old?
53.
Oh, that don't count.
Yeah, 53 years old.
If you're holding it together, I can go there, but I would say many aren't holding it together, which, which brings us to another conversation because
not hold it together.
Not holding it together. But some 20-year-olds that's not holding it together.
But I mean, just to piggyback off of what you just said, I mean, you're 100% right, because I see some guys that's out there that's 60 that don't have it together at all, still trying to figure it out. And the same thing goes for women. So even with the age thing, it's like, I mean, you could have a woman who's 40 years old who's really mature, but a woman that's in her mid-50s
still ain't got it together.
Still don't have it together.
Right.
Credit score is not in place. You want to run the streets, do this, do that. And it's like, at this age, it's like, I just want to be at places where it's a positive vibe and I can build with people.
Right.
They can pour something into me. I can pour something into them. We leave out of that venue or whatever have you, and it's a great conversation. I learned something that night. They learned something. That's the type of situations I'm trying to be in.
Well, I tried dating someone in their 50s, right?
Well, at what age?
This was just
your age. What was your age?
This was 57. So she was in her 50s, right?
Okay.
And she comes by the crib, and I won't say I'm a neat freak, but I like a clean house.
Okay.
Same.
Okay? I can't do the dirty thing. I'm not.
Can't do filth.
I can't do filth, man.
Right.
But so I'm seeing these hairs on the floor and on the carpet.
I remember you told me this.
Is it weave or is it hair?
I'm cleaning it up, and then as I clean it up, I see more. They keep coming back. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Is it weave?
It was the weave.
Oh.
It was the weave. And so,
you have a vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, I vacuumed it up. I got it up.
You cleaned it?
Yeah, I cleaned it. I didn't know what it was. I really didn't know what it was. Come to find out, it was a weave, and she kind of denied it. And I'm cleaning it up. She's like, "You got OCD." I'm like, "You need OCD."
Oh, wow.
And and that was it. That was it. I'm like, "Nah, I'm out." That was it.
So that's why you won't date a woman in her 50s, because you scared her weave on shit.
Well, that was just one experience. And she just wasn't. If I'm gonna date someone in their 50s, right? They got to be at least youthful in their 50s.
Okay.
I can't do it. I just can't.
Right.
I'd rather, if you're in your 50s but you look like you're in your 40s, yeah, let's get down.
Okay.
If you're in your 40s but look like you're in your 50s, I can't do that either.
Right.
I just want to, because I feel like I'm youthful.
Right.
And I want to move a certain way, so I want somebody that can move the same way I move.
I think it just really depends on what you attract.
Yeah.
And as you get older, the demo may change. Definitely not dating anybody that's the age of my daughter. It's really about who you attract and who you are attracted to.
Yeah.
I don't have a flat stomach, so you can't have a gut. We can't be bumping guts. Somebody got to be in shape. And I'm not doing no sit-ups.
Right.
But what I always say, I do have a gut, but there's a lot of goodies underneath this gut.
Yeah.
So you need to have, you know what I'm saying? It's what you're attracted to. And you may find a guy in his 40s that is not youthful. And you may find a guy that's in his 60s that is. It's just really about what you attract. The bottom line for me is I want to be with someone who's going to make my life better.
Okay.
And not necessarily financially, but it would be nice.
That's
but
nice.
I just want somebody. Why would I be with somebody that's going to make my life tougher? Why am I going to be with somebody that is going to cause me a lot of extra stress and drama? I'm older now. I don't have time for all that. And I can be miserable and be stressful and be, have all these other things by myself. I'm not bringing that into my world. So it's just really about what you're attracted to, who's attracted to you, and what's a deal breaker for you. I've dated mostly men that are of my age. I married a man that was significantly younger than me, but I didn't get married till I was 37. And I knew that I wanted to
What
have
was the age
children.
gap? What was the age gap?
Let's see, 12 years.
Oh yeah.
12
I've
years.
only done the most I've done is 8 years. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can do 12.
12 years. So, but as I look back on it,
my age gap, then yeah, I'll be like, well, damn, Goose.
12, but I've always attracted younger men.
Yeah,
even today, where I'm almost 60, I still attract younger men. But I have a conversation, and I'm like, nah, I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I just mentally, you might be the bomb in bed, and we can do that. But as far as, us being together, hey, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm a sexual being. Okay. So, from the outside, it may look like, oh, she's by herself, but I'm gonna get what I need to get.
Well,
but I may not be in a relationship. But that's just me. I'm a Scorpio woman. I got to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I don't necessarily want to be in a relationship with you because I don't feel like you're bringing any kind of enhancement to my life other than what you do. Mm-hmm. So it's just really about what you want.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that, because for me, it's like, what can you do to make my life better?
Yeah.
And I'm not asking in terms of, no, you have to do something. Like, what can you really honestly do to make my life better? Yeah. How can you contribute to my life?
Exactly.
And in the end, being with someone who absolutely brings nothing to your table, it's not going to work, because you're going to go in different directions.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So,
because eventually the person, that you're looking to get something from to pour into you,
right?
If the relationship goes awry, which it 9 times out of 10 will, you're going to start venturing out and looking for that in another woman. And then that relationship is done. So
yeah, you have to bring something. If you're in someone's life today, think about it. Mm-hmm. What are you contributing to their well-being on a day-to-day basis?
And ladies, that's not always the bag. We're so many people are so materialistic and so focused on finances. And again, there's nothing wrong with wanting a certain level of person to bringing what you're bringing. However, I think a lot of women miss out on good men because of that mindset. Well, he ain't got no, you know what I mean? There are some men out here who make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year that folks are overlooking because, quote, they're not on the level that they deem they should be. Mm-hmm. It's gotta be something more than material.
Mm-hmm.
But you do agree that you need to have an A-like, right? Like,
absolutely.
So if you have a certain lifestyle, right, and let's say your bills are about $12,000 a month, you can't be with somebody who makes $3,000 a month. It just doesn't make sense. You may want to, but I strongly believe in that whole evenly yoked thing. It's like, you may not necessarily have to be a millionaire, but you, like you were saying, Goose, you gotta bring something to the table. If I have the meat, the sides, and the rolls, and the table setting, and you at least got to bring the Kool-Aid. I need you to come to more to the table than a knife and a fork ready to eat. Like, you got to contribute, bring some biscuits or something. I can't do the majority of everything.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think because of that, though, there are a lot of Black women that are single and will remain single, in their Bentley, in their big home. In their Mercedes or whatever, all these material things, they'll be alone because, of that. But you're right. You do have to have certain standards, but I just encourage folks to, sleep on the hardworking man, because there's a lot of good hardworking men out here.
Now, for me, right, if I like this person and they're only bringing in 3,000 and I'm bringing in 70,000 or whatever the number is, I might just say to that person, okay, I do like you, but let me see. Can I help you help me? How can we make this work? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
How can they may have potential that they don't even know they have.
The fixer-upper.
Yeah. But a lot of people are like that, though. Right. A lot of people have skills, but they don't have, they're around the wrong people.
Yep.
because you are who you are around.
That's
If you're
true.
around a go-getter, you eventually you're gonna be a go-getter. If you're around a lazy person, or your man is, you're gonna end up
You're gonna
somehow
become lazy.
get some of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I was listening to a podcast like last week, and I can't remember which one, but something was said that will probably stay in my mind forever. And it said that ambition and drive is not something that you see in a person. It's what you see in a person is what you would do if you were in that person's shoes. It's not that that person has potential or the ambition and the drive. It's that we, as kind of like those unique people that want to see the best in people, we see what we would do if we were in their shoes, what we would do if we were in their situation. And then we automatically assume that they have potential. But we will often want more for others than they want for themselves.
Yeah.
And there's a
Yes.
whole other problem. Like
I found myself.
That's true.
I found
all the
myself
time.
I
All the time.
found myself having that feeling in my marriage because my ex-wife, you know, she was big into like, you know, human resources, right? So she was taking care of like the benefits, the payroll, like anything that was human resource related. She would bring her work home, and sometimes on the weekends she'd be sitting in the sunroom doing work, and I'm like, "Why are you working? You getting paid for this?" She's like, "No, I'm not getting paid for it. I'm just trying to make sure I keep up with everything because all of the HR stuff is on me." But she wasn't like a HR director or anything like that. So I went to her and said, "Listen, I'm going to pay for you to go to school so you can get your certification. You know, you need to become an HR director. I see that in you." You know, and to Asia's point, it's like she just said, sometimes we try to pour into folks because we see the potential in them because it's something that we would do ourselves. And that's what I was saying with her. And she didn't follow through with the schooling. She went to school I don't know, maybe like 2-3 times, and she quit. And I'm like, you're making $70,000 a year, but you had a potential to make 150. You can double your salary if you follow this blueprint. But the blueprint that I laid for her wasn't her journey.
Right.
That was my journey if I was in her shoes.
Right.
Yeah. So when Asia just said that, that just jumped out at me because
it does, right?
I've been in that situation before where I've, you know, thought that the person had more drive and ambition, but they just didn't have
I've
it.
done that before.
Yeah.
I paid for someone schooling or education to get a certificate, and it just you're right, man. It's not a good thing to do, and that's why again the communication is important in the beginning. Like, what are your goals?
Right.
Where do you want to be or see yourself 5 years from now? Where do you see us? Are we even? Is that even a conversation for us to have? You know what I mean?
Right.
You got to have those conversations. And again, just going back to the doctor, you know, what he said in terms of our people getting married, marriages are declining every year. And they're saying in the next 10 years, it's going to be down in the teens.
Right.
So,
but do you think marriage is essential? Do you think that we have to have marriage? Like, if we had a profound partner and we had a solid relationship, do you think that we necessarily have to be married?
Not anymore. Not anymore. But more importantly, I think bringing back the family and the family values is more important than marriage. Marriage is really just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And it messes the guys up more than the females. But
you think?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so when it comes to divorce. For sure. The men get hit.
Okay, well, that's a good topic. So I'm in Prince George's County. I'm in Maryland now.
Yeah.
You know, and here the household median for the Black urban professional is much higher than a whole, because Prince George's County was the highest African American county in the U.S. and now it's Southern Maryland or Charles County, both here in the U.S. and the wealthiest county in the nation is in Loudoun County, Virginia. So all of the wealthiest regions are here in the DMV, right? So when you look at these professionals, they work for the government or they own their own businesses. I mean, you see a whole lot more female contracting companies than you would in other areas, and just like women out here in beast mode. When we get to a certain point, we have no choice but to kind of settle. All of the men that are on our level, the majority of men that are on our level are already in relationships or married, right? Or let's just say, let's be real, they may the gate may swing the other way. They may not have even been looking in the female's direction. So here we are with less and less and less to choose from. So we have no choice but to pick from the low hanging fruit. And we're just trying to find the shiniest apple that we could find that's left. So sometimes we get a few duds. So when we marry this dud, now we're like Mary J. Blige trying to pay $20,000 a month in spousal support. Now they're looking at us because we are the primary breadwinner. We're the primary household, like head of household, and we don't want to be. We want to be the neck. We want a husband to be the head of household, but the shifts change when you reach a certain income level or an education level. It just changes. It's just a natural turn. I mean, if you can find that unicorn, then you're lucky. But in most cases, we find that the 12-year-old guys that are younger than us, or the 8-year-old guys that are younger than us, and they're still building. And so we're paying the spousal support. For most of the situations that I've seen here in this area, it's really the other way around.
That's interesting.
It's not a whole I'm getting a check from you type of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting because when you look at the media, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like the man always gets stuck with everything from child support and you name it.
Right.
And a lot of guys weren't mad to hear Mary because
Jill Scott did the same thing. Jill Scott is paying spousal support. Most of the women that are have great lucrative careers got stuck with crazy high spousal support payments, and it happens more often than you think, especially in this area. I can't speak for other areas, but I'm talking about from personal relationships and business owners and people that are doing really, really well. There's people here in the government sector that are clearing $300,000-$400,000 a year, and you date somebody that makes $100,000. Now, $100,000 is good, but in the court of law, you live together for X amount of years. He's accustomed to a certain lifestyle. Now you got to give him a portion of your salary to help him maintain that lifestyle.
Okay, wow. Few more things I want to get at because I know time is it flies, of course. So, few more things. A true prize never says they're the prize, but the question is, who's the prize when the prize leaves? Because a lot of times you hear women say, "I'm the
always
prize."
The woman.
It's always the woman. Always. Why is that?
Because we have everything.
Sounds good. And you know what? And to be honest, I agree. Yeah. The woman is always the prize. But when you look at that and you put it on paper, I don't want to say women are the problem or can be the problem because I don't want to start an argument here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, again.
You won't get an argument from me because a lot of times it is. I just think women are in denial.
Let me just say this. So, Eric and I have been doing this for the past 4 months. We've done 2 of these where it was relationships from a man's perspective. And we just talked about all the things because we hear women say this all the time. He ain't this. He ain't that. He don't make enough money.
So y'all were women bashing.
We tried not to.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to deliver the. Not mean to cut you off, Steve, but
no.
We tried to deliver the content in a way more so of what men want from a woman in a relationship, and one of the biggest things is peace, because a lot of times sometimes there's a lot of conflict that comes up, and there's arguments over like the smallest things, and for us, really, as men, the only thing we really want is peace. As far as, if you have like a stand-up guy who's about his business, as far as like, from a financial perspective or, him trying to achieve his goals and whatever have you, we're pretty much, for the most part, the good guys that are, like I said, that are about their business, we know how to get all that stuff done. We might need to lean on you to, get your opinion or whatever, but, the biggest thing is just peace. Just like, I never ever want to feel like I'm walking on eggshells when I'm around you because something's going to spark off, like to your point, Asia, earlier, when you said the guy that you were dating, he saw you hugging on a lot of people. Like, I don't want to be with a woman that she sees me hugging a lot of my female friends. She has an issue with that because I have more female friends than I have male friends.
Right.
Because I don't really rock with a lot of dudes like that.
And if I'm in a restaurant, I don't have to worry about my phone lighting up and you want to know who that is.
Yeah.
I'm with you. What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what
I think that falls in line with just again finding the right person. So because I'm super laid back.
Yeah.
I don't ask you questions because I don't want you to ask me questions, right? So I feel like if we are on one accord, we understand each other. Before I got married, I was proposed to 4 other times. I said yes, one of the 4, but we didn't get married. That's a whole nother long story. I think when you have somebody like that's cool and you understand, like you said, gives you peace, it doesn't really invade your space and complements your life, then you're like, okay, this is the person that I want to live my life with. But as a woman, you can't really break a man by telling him no and then still thinking that you're going to be like in a relationship. Because once you say no to a proposal, it's the end of your relationship. So I found out that a couple of times. But you have to find that person that is going to vibe with you.
Yeah.
You got to do better than just looking at the outside. Because it may look shiny and new, but it may be a dud.
And just to jump back to the peace portion again, that is so. I'm telling you,
that's Steve's
for me.
That's Steve's favorite word, right
that's
there.
at the top of my list.
Well, what gives you peace?
Well, if you disturb it, first of all, that's it. We can't be together. You can't disturb. What gives me peace? The fact that I don't want to argue. I don't want to be in the position. I don't want to be stressed by things that aren't worth being stressed over. I'm the type of person, if a problem comes up, I deal with it and that's it. I don't care how bad it is. I don't go to bed with it. I don't bring it home with me. I don't carry it on my shoulder. All right. I may carry it for a minute, but trust me, if it goes a little too far, it's not going home with me.
Right.
I'm going to fix the issue. And if I can't fix it, then it's a problem I can't fix. Okay. On to the next thing. I like to move on. I try my best not to hold on to stuff.
Yeah.
So if there's a person who disturbs my peace even a little bit, whether it's something they don't like or something they want to complain about, because some people, they complain about everything.
Right.
And again, it just goes back to you saying you haven't found the right person.
Right.
You know? So
that's your example of what would break your peace is somebody complaining.
Complaining is one. And I'm trying not to put folks out there because
you can do it without telling them.
I'm trying not to bring up live situations, but listen, I like to view life as, and I'm a type of person too, I feel energy.
Right.
So if your energy isn't right, that disturbs my peace. Right. You're not going to be around me because I'm not going to put myself around you. And, I can remember one time where my energy wasn't disturbed for so long. When it got disturbed, it got to the point where I found myself making that okay when it wasn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I tried to adapt to it, but in the end, it's just a problem for me. So I don't want drama. You know, some people seem to always have something going on. One day it's this, a couple days go by, it's something else. I mean, damn, what the hell's going on? You was just dealing with that, and it's the same situation.
Yeah,
haven't you learned from the last?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, so most times in those situations that you're outlining right now, it's usually that person. They're the one that's the problem, but they bring everything back to you, complaining to you about it, disturbing your peace.
Yeah,
but they're really the issue.
No doubt.
It's not
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's my take on it.
Some people are just chaos. They don't feel like they are alive unless it's some drama or some chaos or some kind of conflict going on. There's just some people that are just made that way. They feel like they have to cause drama to, it gives you that feeling of this person's into me. If I cause this drama, whether it be conscious or subconscious, let me see if this person really, really cares for me or is willing to fight for me or is willing to, get into this debate with me, because that's how I gauge, if this person is really, really down for me. Some folks are just addicted to chaos. Or maybe that's all they've ever known in their lives. So they will subconsciously create a problem just because that's just how they are in their personalities. And again, you can find out a lot about a person's tendency to be a chaos queen by asking questions like, what was your last relationship like? Or why did you guys break up? Or what was the worst thing that ever happened to you in a relationship? And what was your responsibility? You just have to, it all comes back again to communication and finding out, what is the history of this person, not the representative, but the person that you're with. So you're not surprised when you're in a situation where you're calling police at 2 a.m. because his brother pulled a knife on you. Not that happened to me, but I'm just saying, situations happen, and you sit back and like, how did I get into this predicament? Well, you didn't see all this coming. It didn't just pop up. People don't just pop up and become, what you see in a really, really end of a bad situation. There are red flags. There are situations that happen, but a lot of times we're so thirsty to be in a relationship. We're so thirsty not to be alone that we overlook that because we want to have a man.
You thirsty? Drink some water. Here. Yeah. Wow. So
I'm happy that's not me. I'm very happy that's not me. Yeah. I'm one of those people, you just have to just irritate me one time and I'll delete and block you. I can show you my whole deleted and block list. It goes on and on. I'm so serious. I'd be like, oh, that's so nice. And I delete and block.
Yeah, so that's the one thing for every woman that's listening now, whether you're on social media or iHeartRadio. If you have a man, just try not to disturb his peace. Yeah. And
but is that really realistic?
Well, here's what I was going to say. And we're not just talking about, all day, every day. That doesn't happen, right? And we know sometimes, you're going to aggravate them and all that. But I'm talking about doing that consistently. Don't be the person that bothers him in arguing with him or complaining about certain things all the time, where it's like he don't want to go home because he know he didn't do such and such, and he's going to get it when he get home. Oh my God. Let me say this. I found myself one time, right? This particular person, make sure the dishes are washed all the time, right? So this person was finally gone, right? I found myself in the kitchen. All right, I'm eating. I got my plate, and I just yelled out, "Shut the hell up!"
Wow.
I said, like, shut the hell up, because I felt like the person was there, and I was gonna hear them out about the damn dishes.
You have PTSD.
So you were traumatized.
Yeah, I was traumatized.
No,
but
that's crazy.
That's beyond crazy.
That was just, for me, that was a funny moment, because again,
that kind of goes to that song by Ghetto Boys. My mind's playing tricks on
right.
The person was gone. The person wasn't even there, but I just felt like I better wash them damn dishes.
Was that your sign that you need to move? Like, I got to move on. She's haunting you in her absence.
That's crazy.
Oh, but she gone now, so that was a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Lesson learned. But listen, I want to thank y'all, and there's still a lot more to talk about, but there's just not enough time in the day. And we got
to talk about denying sex with your partner if you're in a committed relationship.
Well, we still have a little bit of time, so let's get into it. Why not? Yeah. We got a little bit of time.
I got like a whole bunch of time we got to talk about.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Being denied sex. It happens on both sides. And, I've experienced that. A lot of men have being denied sex. And that's probably one of the biggest problems when men cheat, and women, being denied sex. It's one thing to tell a person no, right? And then a day goes by, he still ain't had none. And you wondering why he's a little frustrated, got a little attitude, and you don't give him none. And then all it takes is a moment for him to be outside the house and he's having a conversation with someone. You're giving him the opportunity to take a chance, right?
Right.
And this person probably was devoted the whole time until the denial of sex happens.
Yeah.
And all
I
it
think
is
a lot of women will try to hold sex as like a punishment, and it always backfires. It always backfires.
Yeah.
I don't think if you're in a committed relationship, if you're married or if you're in a live-in boyfriend, I don't think you should deny sex. I think there's other things you can do to quote unquote punish him if he's in timeout. But yeah, you leave the door. Leave the door open for somebody to come in if you if you play those games. I think game playing in a situation is too risky.
My question is, as a woman, if you're denying your man's sex, how is that benefiting you?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It depends on how his sex drive is. I need a break.
That's crazy.
I mean, I feel like that can be taken. I feel like that can be taken one of two ways, because especially if the man's asking his lady, whether it's his girlfriend or his wife, for sex several times, and she's saying no, that might ring an alarm in his head. Like, well, if she's not getting it from me, where's she getting it from?
Okay.
And then he might say, well, okay, I don't know for sure if she's doing something, but it feels like she's doing something. So now I'm going to go outside the house. I'm going to emotionally connect with this other woman. And now that man is now having sex with this other woman that's on the outside. But it could be something that the wife or the girlfriend's going through that she just doesn't know how to talk to her mate about. And that could just lead to an even bigger problem. So I truly feel like sex in a relationship is really, it's a key factor. That's what keeps you both, connected, and loving each other unconditionally. So, that just has to occur, because no woman wants to be with a man that's not going to give her sex, and no man wants to be with a woman who's not going to give him sex.
Especially a man.
That's just point blank, period.
And I think a lot of times in relationships, you'll do what needs to be done to get them, but then you're not willing to continue to keep them, because you so-called got the prize, because you got the ring, and you have to, not have to, you would hopefully want to be able to do that after you've solidified the deal, but I think a lot of times folks are like, well, I got him now, he ain't going no, you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's one of the things that you do have to talk about in a relationship. That's something that you have to have a discussion about, I think, about sex drives and things like that, because there may be some women may be going through some perimenopausal or even actual menopausal things where they have a lower sex drive. But if I'm in a committed relationship, I won't deny my partner, even if I don't feel like it. Just be like, all right, just hurry up and finish. But I
hurry up. All right.
But what if he needs a couple of hours? He might need a couple of hours.
Then I'll fall asleep.
Wow, Asia.
I just won't deny my partner if I'm in a committed relationship. That's the if part.
Yeah.
That's not something that you give to any and everybody. That's somebody that you give to the person that you want to build a foundation with and be with for a very, very, very long period of time. Hopefully you're forever partners, what you're hoping, but life could deal a different hand. I see so many of my girlfriends that deal with infidelity and they have their men that are out there just kind of doing whatever they want to, but it's because they will try to quote unquote punish their men, if you will.
Oh yeah.
And he came in late, so I'm not gonna give him none. Or he did this, he didn't pay this bill, I'm not gonna give him none. I'm like, okay, well, let me know how that works out for you, because
that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's gonna backfire.
It's definitely gonna backfire, and you got those are these. So there's two things, and there's actually three, but peace, sex. You can't listen. I'm telling you, and men, we're easy. Men, we are very, very easy. We don't ask for much.
Right.
But we'll give a whole lot. We'll sacrifice a lot. And oftentimes we don't get credit for that. Not that we want credit, but when you hear women complain, he ain't doing this, he ain't, all of that, like, okay, so you're not counting the fact that the mortgage is paid 6 months ahead of time or rent, whatever it is. Just Just stop it. Understand, if you understand your man,
Yeah.
you'll never have problems.
Mhm.
All right. If you give him the few things that are really
3 F's.
right. If you give
3
him those, you give him those. What are the 3 F's?
Fun, food, and the other word I can't say.
Freakiness.
Effing.
There you go. That's why I said freakiness. You know, it's very simple. We don't ask for much. Do you ask for a whole lot, E?
Not at all.
I don't
There's
know.
a lot of women that don't ask for a
Not
lot
at all.
either. Like, just to be honest, don't cheat and come with what you ran your mouth about. Make sure, you know, you can do it.
And for me, like, listen, if you're doing what you're supposed to do and I'm not having any, and I like you or love you or whatever the relationship is, we gonna be good. Because I'm gonna take care of my person, I'm gonna take care of her. She gonna be good. She always gonna be good. And if you can't take care of me with the little things I ask for, and on top of that, you disturbing my peace, nah, you gotta go.
Right.
You gotta go.
The piece is really
The piece
huge.
is big for him. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's huge.
You know, if you find yourself sitting outside in your car
And don't
trying
wanna
to
go in the
gather
house.
yourself before going in the house,
I've done that
there's
several
a problem.
times.
There's a problem.
I've done that several times to the
Like,
point where
ugh.
I found myself sitting in the car for like 3 hours.
Good Lord.
Yeah, because I didn't want to go home.
I believe it though.
Yeah, I didn't want to
believe
go
it.
home. I'm like, you know what? I'll sit in the car. I'll put especially if it's a nice summer day. Oh, I might be in the car for 5 hours.
Oh wow.
Just
And
chilling.
You were really in a bad place.
Yeah. Yeah. So-
I have 3 rules myself, though. I have my 3 rules. One, most women are not going to agree with, but my number 1 rule is don't come home with nothing you didn't leave with. Don't come home with an STD. Don't come home with a baby. Don't come home with no situationships outside. I don't want to be approached in the street at an event by some woman saying I was with your man. Do not walk through my door with nothing you didn't leave with. You didn't leave with those problems, or come home with those problems. It would be good. So, and loyalty is a big issue. It's a huge issue. And lastly, if you can't necessarily match my game or my stride financially, you have to still bring just as much emotionally to the table. If you can't match it, you got to find another way, shape, or form. So, like you said, Goose, as far as like mowing the lawn and things like that, if all the other things in the house are taken care of and that's off my plate, I'm okay with you making, $5,000 or $10,000 less than me. That type of thing. We as long as you come with something, you got to do something to make up the difference.
Yeah.
And those are my 3 rules.
Right.
And 4. Know my love languages. So 4.
Yeah. And again, just understand your man. Understand who he is, what he wants, what his needs are. If you take care of him, I promise you, any guy will take care of any woman that, as long as they take care of him and they don't have to deal with the rah-rah and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways too, but I think it's easier for guys.
Yeah. Most definitely.
So
we'll pick up on that one on the part 2.
Yeah, we'll do a part 2. Listen, I enjoyed y'all, Olivia, Asia. We got to do it again. And I am working for something for next month, so I'll let you know about it. So maybe we can do that. Trying to get one of the artists to join in on us on it. So we'll see what happens. But thank y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow me and always ask Asia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Again, always ask Asia. I will probably be in a city near you real soon. Look for me on the red carpet at the BET Awards as we celebrate 25 years. Shout outs to Gooseby, who sent me on my first BET assignment 25 years ago.
and she's still doing it.
And I'm still doing it 5 years later. I owe Goose, I owe T. Clark, I owe Coach so much to help me own my craft. They took me in as their little sister, and they weren't. Let me say, they were not nice by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh no, we gonna give it to you always. We always gonna give it.
It gave it to you raw and uncut, but they groomed me, and I always, to this day, am super, super grateful for what they have done and continue to do in little aspects of my life. So I appreciate you. But I'll be at the American Black Film Festival, so follow me on that, and follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll talk to you all next time.
Sounds good. We'll
That's
get up
awesome.
again later.
That's
And Olivia,
awesome.
what you up to nowadays, Olivia?
A little this, a little that, but you can find me online, Olivia Fox Radio. I'm all over the place. Gooseby, I just want to say, you know, the journey of radio, Black radio, is crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was in Boston back in the mid 90s, and, you know, meeting you and T. Clark and Coachy and Ken Johnson, and to be able to be in an environment as historical as Wild was, and then still be able to retain these relationships is an amazing thing. I cannot express it enough to folks to let you know how important networking and keeping good relationships with folks, regardless of how, you know, if you leave a city or leave a station or whatever, to be able to leave on a good note and to be able to keep those relationships alive and positive, because you never know. You just never know what can happen, where you'll be, and who you'll see, and who knows you. So you just have to make sure that you treat people right, that you are professional at all times, and, you know, just work to be a genuinely good, kind person, because it means a lot, you know, after all of the shine and the high profileness and money and material things. At the end of the day, really all you have to stand on is your name and your brand and your word. So if that is my last word, I hope that it will stay with you guys, to definitely continue to keep your relationships tight and be what you say you are to folks, and stay genuine.
Very, very, very true. And it's amazing that, like you said, Olivia, after all of these years,
be able
to pick up the phone and even give you and Asia a phone call, and y'all like, yeah, we do that, Goose. You know, so I appreciate y'all and I thank y'all. And yeah, those days back in the day, man, a lot of fun, great experiences, and, you know, it's good. I see Asia in that front row all the time on carpet and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, check out Asia. But yeah, and I missed that Russ Parr morning show. And all you oh yeah, I do. I do. I missed that show. And you, Olivia, even when you were here in Boston, she did a double take. She was on the Russ Parr, and she also worked on the morning show here with Ken and Raphael and everybody.
Okay.
So
Ralphie.
Yeah, so but thank you guys. Love y'all. And we'll do it again. I'll be in touch, and I'll send you the links and all the cuts and edits and everything too.
Awesome.
All right.
Asia,
Nice
you ladies have a blessed day.
Bye, you guys.
All right, enjoy.
Bye.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Yeah, so that was great, man. That was great. Definitely got to do it again.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel there's so much to talk about still, you know, but there's just not enough time in the day. And you know, I believe on the next one again, I'll tell you off mic, but I got a little something up my sleeve. I'm trying. Hopefully it'll happen. I know I'm gonna get her in for the interview, but I want to get her in on the next relationships segment that we do, and try and get this person to, like, you know, really get involved in it. And she's a real special person. So and everybody knows. So we're gonna see. I'm gonna work on that. And I want to thank you too, E.
Well, yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Always
I think,
bringing the good stuff to the table. You know?
I think this was a great conversation. You know, we were able to, you know, have some dialogue from, you know, both sides of the spectrum.
Yep.
You know, from a woman's perspective, a man's perspective, and hopefully, you know, a lot of the folks that tuned in today were able to, you know, grab a few nuggets from this conversation, because, you know, ideally, you know, women are always looking to have a great relationship with a man, and men are always looking to have a great relationship with women. So, you know, we want to have that partnership. We want to be able to bond with our ladies, and men and women, you know, do the same thing with their men. So hopefully there was a lot of great content that, like I said, a lot of our listeners today were able to pull and grab some nuggets from this conversation and apply it to their life.
And really, relationships is all about understanding. If you want to have a successful relationship, you have to understand one another. You got to understand your partner, who they are, what do they like, what are their skill set, what are they bringing to the table, what are you bringing to the table? Because there is a table there you got to eat on, and you got to be able to live and sleep in that bedroom. And you know, it's not good overall for our culture in terms of relationships. We got social media that's killing it and messing the whole game up. You know, fly me in, and that's more with the younger generation. But like the doctor said earlier, you know, when it comes to the wealth gap, we are dead last when it comes to the family, and it's all because the family's no longer together.
No,
you know, and that's a problem. That's a problem, because if you also look at the technology that's happening right now and that's around the corner, it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
It's gonna get worse. And the one thing you could do to help stop it, at least for your situation, is to get in a positive relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Fix your relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, because I mean, ideally, you know, in any relationship, you know, you both need each other. You know what I'm saying? And as you get older, you're gonna really need each other, because you know we're gonna get older. We might have some ailments down the line. You don't want to be by yourself and not be able to care for yourself the way that you need to. So your partner being able to be there for you to, from a health perspective, to be able to make sure you're keeping your health in check, you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing the same thing for your partner. It's, you know, it's ideal.
Right.
It's definitely an ideal situation.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll definitely do it again, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate you as always.
Man, appreciate you as well, man.
Yeah.
I love coming on to this, because you know I grab something from it myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not just being on the show as your co-host, but also being able to listen to the content, actively listen to what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
to listen to what Olivia and Asia were saying, and being able to pull something out of that,
Mm-hmm.
because you know they touched on some really great points. So I like their perspective on
and they're good. Just from talking to them, they're good women.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, they're definitely good. So for them, it's trying to, like Asia said, you can't put a square in a circle and a circle in a square.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
So you got to have the communication, and that's what everybody's not doing.
Mm-hmm.
We're just being attracted to whoever. Oh, she looks good. He looks good. Let's get together. Oh, let's just sleep. And that's all people are thinking.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, in this world, in 2025, the stuff that's coming, you already know you got a guy in office that most people don't like.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a lot of different things that's going to change how you live.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, when it comes down to, already housing is so expensive in Massachusetts, where you got to make well over $200,000 to buy a house in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the only way to really do that, you got to put your incomes together.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to have a family.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
the Indians are doing it, the Asians are doing it, and the Latinos are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's doing it except who? Us. We're not doing it.
Yeah. And
we're not getting it done.
And I mean, you could see that just from riding through the community. I mean, because most of these stores,
Mm-hmm.
they're all owned by Asian. I mean, I live on the north side of Quincy,
Mm-hmm.
North Quincy. You go down, what street is that?
Blue?
No, not Blue. The long strip in Hancock Street
Mm-hmm.
in Quincy. Once you get to a certain point, like over where like the old Papagenos used to be in Quincy, they have the Asians got that whole section on lock.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're doing, you know, their own style of cooking, and then they're kind of like emulating some of the stuff that we do as Black folks.
Yeah.
You know, they're serving up fried chicken now. Folks they're creating like their own recipe, because they know the things that we like. So they do things that's going to attract us to come to their neighborhoods, to be able to spend our money with them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how they become wealthy. And I can't knock them for it.
Yeah, you can't knock them
I
for
can't
it.
knock
And
them for it.
oftentimes we do get upset because,
Yeah.
another one in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
tired of y'all buying
Yeah.
up the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But, you know, we need to buy it up ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's not happening. And it's like social media kind of killed the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people really get on there and they believe what they see on social media, and they follow the certain trends, and they don't even know that they're stuck in that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem. So yeah, man, let's do it again.
Oh yeah.
Thank you again.
I'm definitely down for it, man.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Folks, we'll be back. R&B Vibes on the Urban Heat.
Begging, baby, please don't you go. Begging, baby, please.